stories making the headlines this hour. Broadcast government assures threats of food shortage facing the country will be over by November as Agri Ministry insists the country is facing an extended dry spell and not a drought.
It's not a drought, but it's a dry spell that has been extended, causing what we call near drought conditions. But it is not a drought.
But farmers in the country are unhappy and have challenged the claims.
Whether it's drought spell or it's drought, the impact is the same. The fact that definition of whether it fell or it's drought, I don't know the intention. But what I can tell is that the impact is huge on our Ghana food security, and we need proper measures.
We will also bring you the story of a 42-year-old teacher whose dreams of a bountiful harvest have become a nightmare due to the prolonged drought in the northern parts of the country.
So the amount of invested into it, because of the drought, it's like all of us are confused. And the government should have even let the Agri Minister to come to Savannah region and see what actually is happening.
Also in this broadcast, patients on Kolibut surgery list urged to access other health facilities as management races against time to fix faulty elevator by Monday. We have the details of that for you. And later, Parliamentary Monitoring Group Odikro describes as needless heated exchanges between North Tong MP Samuel Tutuwaa Blakwa and Works and Housing Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah.
I think it was totally needless. It was just show of power, and this could have been avoided. As professionals in the first stage, before members of parliament, they need to take a position where they stick within the rules of moderating conversations like this, where you only stick to the issues.
We will hear from the group which is calling for decorum during committee sittings. And later on the campaign trail, we sit with the flag bearer hopeful of the Convention's People's Party, lawyer Yao Anoche Frimpong, plus hear from campaign team members of the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, over bribery claims leveled against them following Sunday's media engagements.
These are all attempts to decampaign our candidate, and we are not going to be deterred by that at all. We think that our media encounter was excellent. The candidate got the opportunity to explain things more clearly to people, and many of the thorny issues that he adequately responded to.
There are details of these and many other stories coming up in this broadcast. Do stay.
Star News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live
Star
on Facebook on Star 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Star 103.5 FM.
Thank you very much for choosing Star Today. Now, government has assured that the threat of food shortage facing the country will be over by November, according to the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Bryony Champon. What farmers up north are facing is an extended dry spell and not a drought. Now, before we hear from the minister, let's bring you details of a report of a 42-year-old teacher from Fufuiso near Damango in the central Gonja district of the Savannah region, who, after harvesting his entire salary and savings, investing his entire salary and savings into the land, fears for what his family will eat as his dream of a bountiful harvest turns into a painful reality. There are more details of this report filed by Peter Dato.
In the heart of the Savannah region, the parched fields of Fufuso tell a story of despair and shattered dreams. A 42-year-old teacher who has dedicated his life to both education and farming now faces the harsh reality of a field harvest that threatens not only his livelihood but the very survival of his family. This year, he expanded his farm from 50 to 70 acres, investing about 20,000 cedis per acre, hoping to increase his yield. But instead of reaping the rewards of his hard work, he is now faced with a devastating loss.
Normally, last year it was 50, but I've added 20 acres to it this year, making 70 acres. So the amount I've invested into it, because of the drought, it's like all of us are confused. And the government should have even let the agri minister to come to Savannah region and see what actually is happening. Drought have done all our crops.
The teachers' distress is compounded by the severe drought that has gripped the Savannah region. The drought has destroyed all crops in most parts of the northern sector, and the voice of Muniru Abdul Latif permeates with frustration.
Because I'll pump my salary inside. So pumping my salary inside the farm, thinking that I will get profit from it at the end, zero. So I'm really confused. I don't know what to do.
This is all that remains of the 36-acre cultivated by Karim Wahab, who now deeply regrets the effort and investment he poured into the land. The drought has rendered their efforts futile despite applying fertilizer to their crops. Now, they face the daunting task of repaying for the fertilizer and other investments, even as they grapple with the stark reality.
I've applied the first fertilizer, and because of the drought, look at how the mess is. For now, I'm thinking of how to pay the money. And with this maize, how can I get to eat? Even talking of paying the government. So I'm appealing to government to come to our aid.
The drought has not only devastated crops but also the hopes and dreams of those who depend on the land. The overwhelming concerns remains. How will he and others like him survive the coming year? As they stand on a barren farm looking out over the withered maize, their plea is clear. Government, come to our aid. See what's happening here so you can understand how dire our situation is. We are desperate for your help.
That was the story of a 42-year-old teacher who has now become a farmer and fears losing all of his investments. Now, still in agriculture, Dr. Brian Champon, who was present at the Finance Ministry's monthly economic update, said, although government issued an alert to farmers, the alert was reinterpreted, leading to an aggravation of crisis.
What we are experiencing is not a drought condition. It's not a drought, but it's a dry spell that has been extended, causing what we call near drought conditions. But it is not a drought. We've had some newspapers and journalists report that we have a drought situation. No, it's actually a dry spell. And this dry spell was actually predicted by the Ghana Meteorological Agency. So we knew about it. We knew that it was going to take some time. We did send an advisory to farmers, which advisory was interpreted differently. So farmers went ahead to plant, and this is where we are. Look, last year we had a bumper. Last year we had a bumper harvest. The price of maize, for example, dropped from 400 to 145, 150 Ghana cedis. Last year, 50 kg bag. Okay, major intervention where we started the PFJ, all the things that we put in yielded the results that we wanted.
The Minister for Food and Agriculture also disclosed that government will import 350,000 metric tons of maize and up to 150,000 metric tons of rice as part of measures to prevent the potential food shortage.
We're looking at maize, about 313 to 50,000 metric tons of maize. And we arrived at that quantity because we consume about 2.5 million metric tons of maize annually. Then half year is gone, so let's say about 1.2 million is already consumed. We intend to invest in the southern sector minor season. The southern sector minor season, which is starting now. We're going to give about 1 million farmers inputs, okay, to shore up the production in the southern sector. It has also since 20th August started raining up north, okay, and we have a short window of about 2 weeks to get inputs to farmers to also take advantage of that rains. We are hoping to recover both sectors, about 600 500,000 metric tons of maize. So we're going to have a deficit of about 600,000. And we want to import, for now, 300,000 to fill that gap. And we're expecting the northern harvest to have hit the market by the end of September to October, by which time our imports would have arrived to bridge that gap. And we'll be monitoring if there's a need to, we'll bring in some more. But we believe that the southern sector efforts that we're going to make will bridge that gap. And same for rice. We have targeted about 75,000 metric tons to start with. Our import horizon number is about 150,000. We are monitoring the situation. There's also a lot of private sector efforts to bring in rice into the system, knowing that there's a deficit in our production of about 400,000. So we are talking to them, and then we are also looking at our fund commitment to ensure that there's enough rice and maize on the market.
That was Dr. Barney Champong there. Now, meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, on his part, has justified the decision to request 500 million Ghana cedis from the contingency fund. Dr. Amin Adam, who outlined some short-term measures, also disclosed government has paid a $1 million insurance premium for farmers against a drought.
I'd like to add that as part of medium-term measures, the government has purchased an insurance policy against future droughts in the northern region. We have purchased an insurance policy by which we are paid a premium of $1 million, and the payout will be $5 million when you experience such droughts. And this will cover smallholder farmers in the northern region. So this is one of the instruments that we are using. In addition to the irrigation projects that are being done, the small dams that are being dug around the enclave, economic enclave project that we are implementing. These are all measures to build our resilience against drought and other such unforeseen crises.
You just listened to the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam. Let's go over the phone lines now and engage the former Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Dr. Charles Nyaba. Doc, thank you very much for your time this evening. You have heard the Finance Minister say that what is happening is not a drought, but a dry spell, and will likely be ended in November 2024. What is your immediate reaction to these claims?
Yeah, so on our part, whether it's a drought or it's a drought spell, the effect or the harm has already been caused. Because he himself admitted the number of farms that have been destroyed, the number of livelihoods that farmers are going to lose as a result of this, the impact that it will have on our food security situation. So for us, we don't know for why reason he wants us to go into this theoretical definition, whether there is pressure on his side or the government side that they didn't handle the situation well from the onset, I cannot tell. But whether, for us, we know whether it's a drought spell or it's a drought, the impact is the same. The difference is only the length of the rainfall that it took for us to get the rainfall. That's the difference between drought spell and drought. Drought is a bit longer than the drought spell. But in our case, whether it's a drought spell or it's a drought, the impact or the harm has already been caused.
Doug, you also heard the Agric Minister say that some metric tons of grains will be imported to salvage any potential food crisis. He talked about 350,000 metric tons of rice and then 150,000 metric tons of maize. Will that be enough to solve any looming food crisis?
My minister, to be very honest with you, and to be charitable to the Agric Minister, I think he is embarrassing himself. And he is trying to use the drought as an excuse for the failure of the PhD 2.0. In the first place, what did they do? Because you came in with the PhD 2.0, you made all of us Ghanaians believe that we are going to be food secured, there is going to be sustainable food production. At the same period, less than 2 months of drought, we are running everywhere, trying to empty our contingency fund to address this. Is that the best way to go? Let's say, for instance, the drought continues, or next year we experience the same thing because this is national disaster. Will we continue to rely on the same contingency fund? And where would the funds be? As farmers, we are not beggars, and we don't want to continue to rely on aid. What we are telling government to do is to create enabling environment for us to continue to produce, whether drought, no drought, or flooding. And that is what they are failing to do. And we think that for them to prematurely conclude by trying to put their hands in the contingency fund is not the way to go. And we are very happy that Parliament is scrutinizing, because in the first place, you cannot take a critical decision like this without data. What is the information that they gathered on the field? We have enough evidence from key institutions in the various regions that they were ignored. And even the information they provided, they overinflated the number of farms that are affected. Just simply because to use the money.
Hold on for me, Dr. Nyaba. The information we have at the moment shows that 1.8 million hectares of farms have been affected by the dry spell. Is this the number you're saying has been inflated?
That is what I'm telling you. What data? When did they collect the data? When did they collect this data? We are not denying the fact that farms are affected, but we are only concerned that they use the same approach to give grants under the Planning for Food and Jobs to MPs and DCEs, and currently they are holding those fertilizer for campaigns. And the same approach they are using. Because you cannot take a critical policy decision like this without proper data.
Okay, but do you have a fair idea of the farms that have been destroyed? If you say that government's number has been inflated.
No, I'm a researcher, and I don't talk without evidence. We have not gathered that data, but we have reliable information that substantial number of farms are destroyed. But they cannot just come out, institution that is responsible for providing credible information to Ghanaians and others outside, to just make this veiled allegation that you have this number of farms destroyed without providing any evidence, and you want to clear our contingency fund for that. That is not fair.
You think the 500 million Ghana cedis demands from the contingency fund is just, a very useless exercise, if I may say?
Just based on what? Who are the farmers who are to get this the benefit from the 500 million? Where are the acreages? How many farmers from each of those regions are affected? Ask the minister. Can they provide data, the district, the number of farmers in each district that were affected? So we think that as a country, we all need to be interested in how our public funds are being used by individuals we put in place to lead us. They create impression that the funds are their individual property. But it is not the case. Farmers across the country are not happy with the decision that they are taking. Have you ever seen a situation where somebody is giving you something and you are not happy and you are rejecting it? Have you seen that before? So if farmers across the country are thinking that this is a way for them to just misuse public funds, that tells you that we know the reality on the ground.
Right. Doc, the finance minister also says that 1 million Ghana cedis has been paid for insurance premium for drought situations. $1 million, I beg your pardon, insurance premium for farmers against the drought. What is your immediate response to that?
Who are those funds that are insured? Where is the money going to? Do they have data of the number of farmers that they insured it against? Please, we are not kids in this country. And we think that our policy makers need to understand that we know what they are doing. And the fact that they are privileged to be put there to guide our public corporate doesn't mean that we don't know what's happening in this country. And I'm telling you, we are going to resist this kind of behavior. And we call on all Ghanaians to scrutinize and ask further questions. And I'm happy the media is on their neck. You have to continue, ask them. They should provide us detailed information. How many funds in each district
are affected? How many farmers in each district are affected? How many regions and the number of farmers and farms and where those farms are located? And when they collected those data, look, go to all the regions where it's affected. The regional department of Agri is sidelined. Some few people will just drive from Accra and be providing information, trying to just brainwash all of us. Even the community, the district where this impact is, the Agri officers there are sidelined. They don't know what is happening. So that tells you how these two ministers are trying to manage our public resources.
Right. Dr. Nyaba, thank you very much. Dr. Charles Nyaba is a former executive director of the Peasants Farmers Association of Ghana.
StarrToday, first, fast, and credible.
Let's do health now. And patients on a surgery list at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital have been asked to access other health facilities in the capital city. Now, this comes after management of the Premier Teaching Hospital facility denied the total suspension of surgeries. According to them, the facility is only attending to emergency surgeries at the moment until the malfunctioning elevator is fixed. They have, however, assured that the broken elevator at the surgical block will be fixed by Monday, September 2. My colleague Edwin Araba Edu was there and has filed this report.
In the heart of the Savannah region, the parched fields of Fufuso
barricaded with chairs with no indication of functionality. This is the current state of the two elevators, 700 of patients and relatives at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital's main surgical block. These elevators were installed in 2011 and decades on, this is its current state. The situation has forced patients, relatives and staff to use the staircase since Monday, August 26.
I'm very angry. We cannot live in a nation where health, the health of the people is what will build our economy, and nobody cares about what happens to the people. You understand? I mean, surgical block is a 6th floor, building. Somebody is goes into surgery at the 1st floor, and the person has to climb to the 2nd floor to go and lie in the ward there to be taken care of. It doesn't make sense to me. You understand? When I was born, our family house is just across the main road over there. I know how Korle Bu was, and I see Korle Bu today, and it is nothing to write home about. So this nonsense have to stop in this country.
But management of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital say its engineers are working to fix the elevators by Monday, September 2. According to the head of public relations, Mustafa Salifu, they were informed about the situation on Monday, 26th August, which engineers were instructed to get it fixed within a week.
It was on Monday that the department informed management that the lift had broken down. So steps were immediately kicked into motion to have the problem resolved. So since then, engineers have been invited and they have since been working on the lift. And then we have given our period a duration of 1 week to have the stem fixed. We have initiated the procurement process to procure a brand new lift for the department. For the delivery of that, for the delivery and installation, that may take about 6 months. But in the meantime, the remedial action that we're taking, we hope it will keep the work going on whilst we take our time to replace the lift at the surgical department.
However, management say it has redirected emergency surgeries to other theatres within the facility and put on hold only non-emergency cases.
This is something that is unexpected. In the meantime, we have suspended and reorganized some of our operations. That is, we are saying that for new non-emergency cases, that is the cold cases, the emergencies are those that that is, emergencies and urgent cases are cases that when you don't do something may happen to the patient. So that we have reorganized, and then some of the surgeries are being done in other theaters. We have about 23 theaters spread across the hospital, and then the largest, we have a decent number that are in the surgical block. But for the emergencies, we have turned some of them into other areas, like the gynae theater, like the orthopedics theater at the accident center. We have the pediatric surgery units theaters, a set of theaters that are also in the children's block. So these are all theaters where we have redirected the emergency cases to. So at the moment, we are seeing to that. Our doctors are working, the surgeons are working on that, and we want to assure them that the engineers are working very hard to restore it and then restore normal operations. And then we want to apologize to them for any inconvenience this may have caused to our cherished patients and their relatives.
Currently, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital has 23 theaters dotted across the hospital. The main surgical block, which is having its elevators malfunctioning, is a 6-story building, 10 emergency cases on a daily basis, and about 230 non-emergency admissions in a month. Evelyn Araba Edu, reporting from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital's main surgical block.
That was a report filed by my colleague Evelyn Araba Edu. From health, let's move to the quarters of the legislature. And Parliamentary Monitoring Group, ODICRO, has described as needless the heated exchange between the Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Opoy-Nkrumah, and North Tonk MP Samuel Tutuwaa during the Government Assurance Committee sitting on Wednesday. According to the principal lead of ODICRO, Nehemiah Atiga, lawmakers should refrain from name-calling and bullying and focus on substantive issues for which the committee convenes. He spoke earlier on our sister station, GH1 TV, earlier today.
I think it was totally needless. It was just show of power, and this could have been avoided. As professionals in the first place, before members of parliament, they need to take a position where they stick within the rules of moderating conversations like this, where you only stick to the issues. What are the questions I'm asking and what are the responses I'm expecting, and not go into areas where you are name calling and making references that are unnecessary to the entire conversation. I hope that they come back to just sticking to asking questions and expecting responses, but it would also mean that a perception has been created that when people come and sit before the committee, you almost have a premeditation to bully or to push people to respond to your questions in a particular way, and so which is what seemingly Honorable Tutuwaa may have done with his position or posture. And you can understand, for him, this is personal for him. This is something that he's passionate about because it affects his constituents. And maybe if he sat out of the conversation and asked someone else to lead the conversation, or he decided, you know what, even though this affects me, I'm going to go in this direction, maybe it would have been a better approach. But now that perception has been created for anybody who would go and face that committee. This is fairly straightforward. You are meeting this committee to give assurances, and so when you go in there, you should have responses for things that your ministry has undertaken. Unfortunately, and what had happened for Honorable Kojo Opoy-Nkrumah was he was requesting for time to go back to the ground and ensure that whatever responses he brings back to the committee is a true picture of what is on the ground. And that is what Honorable Tutuwaa was not having, because he felt that there's been a lot of water under the bridge. Time has gone and nothing has been done, or probably he hasn't seen anything, and he's not taking that for an answer. And that's where the power play came in. But truth is, when you go to that committee, you should be able to prep yourself with the sort of responses or updates that you have for the areas that the committee will be questioning you on. And if you don't, obviously you should be able to plead for some time and come back and make your responses. And the committee should also be much more flexible in allowing ministers to be able to do that. And like I said, if you are doing a professional job, stick to asking the questions and expecting responses. As critical as you may be, we don't need to move into name calling and casting aspersions on personalities of people. That is not the right way to do these things.
That was the principal lead at Odikro Nehemiah Atiga speaking there. Let's move away from that. And there was a near clash between supporters of the two leading parties, the NPP and the NDC, at Odododiodo today. The confusion erupted when EIB Voter Connect train made a stop at the constituency to gauge the reaction of voters ahead of the December polls. There are more details in this report.
Currently, we're MP Goni Ebaye ministerial post. He was our former trade minister, former deputy trade minister, our former sports minister, former deputy local government minister, and was the director of operations at the presidency of Professor Mustai. What be community impact your constituency? No, we are about open defecation. But any MPP, over power, we make sure that every household in your constituency has now one toilet under the one household, one toilet initiative.
John Dramani, Sempe school. What a Neil and Seven Napo started simple. Now, Jegbe can be a old structure, I mean, about fair a wooden structure, a be an harm. Wooden structure can be a milulu, Kebasibiane. The only thing they need to do is when a new government comes, pay the contracts. When a new government comes, there is a percentage you need to award to the contractors. Kehana may continue on here, Kebasibiane. Sempe School has become a white elephant.
Patriotic Party has done in Ododo constituency that they have not been able to do it. In this constituency, we have job unemployment. There's no job in the constituency. And we have an MP. The MP is there to make sure the aspirations of the constituencies are met. But where is the MP? The youth are there. There are no jobs. He is supposed to be there in parliament to talk for the new constituency, for the Ododo constituency.
But Bawumia's name pops up. Bako in another one. Look at Google. Who is the biggest liar in Ghana? Bawumia, that show up. You see the indiscipline. I'm a Kenyan. Ameliake, Amalie, now maybe no Amalie. I'm going to expose them.
No, it's
you see,
okay.
You can't even control them. Patapa, Subane, Nyanyaka election yega. Nyanyang.
That were some sounds from the Dododio constituency during today's Volta Connect. Now, consumers who order food online over the past 5 years have had to bear the brunt of an unstable macroeconomic environment. While prices of food have gone up astronomically, management of Bolt's Food wants government to create a stable environment for local businesses to thrive. General Manager of Bolt's Food Ghana, Ali Zeriat, spoke at a press conference here in Accra to mark their 4th anniversary.
I think in these 4 years, there have been a lot of challenges. Just like I mentioned, the biggest challenge which we are facing is the macroeconomic pressures, which has resulted in increase in prices of fuel prices, which eventually translates into our business in increasing courier earnings because they are the ones who are traveling here and there. And then also because of that, pressure from the macroeconomic environment has gone on to the restaurant prices also. So the restaurants which used to charge customer much less amount, they have now increased their pricing easily, I can say more than double now, because they need to make sure they're also running the sustainable business. So I think from a bigger picture, this has been a bigger challenges for all of us. But when it comes to the operation side, there are of course when you're in the operational business, it's always coming, and a new day comes with a new challenge which you need to address. No, data cost in Ghana has been quite a challenge, and that usually comes in with because our applications are dependent on data. So the data cost, when it starts growing upwards, so restaurants, they also complain about high data charges. Then because we get the data, we have to pass it on to them if we are providing that data using the SIM, and we work with the mobile network operators. And then the other option is that they're using their own Wi-Fi connections within their restaurants. So they also complain about the high data cost. The other data cost which affects is a courier, because the data cost keeps on crawling upwards, and it becomes a difficult one. So what we also from our side make sure that we are paying our couriers enough so that they're able to maintain this thing.
You are still listening to StarrToday, and up next on the broadcast is Campaign Trail, where support said it was in no way a bribery to skew them in their favor, reacting to accusations from the flag bearer of the opposition NDC that the media engagement was held to divert attention from their manifesto launch. The Bawumia campaign stressed that each political party has its plan and that the engagement was part of the plan of their campaign. Here is Anthony Abeifakabo, a campaign aide, speaking to Star News.
I'm a bit surprised that the former president would make such a comment. I mean, we launched our manifesto, and a week later they launched their manifesto. Will the same logic apply for his former president, as he claims, happened in respect of the media encounter? I mean, these are curious questions we should ask. The MPP as a political party has its predetermined plan. We have our own program. We have our calendar of activities. And we do not design or draw our programs with the opposition or former president in mind. We are completely focused. These are all attempts to de-campaign our candidate, and we are not going to be deterred by that at all. And we think that our media encounter was excellent. The candidate got the opportunity to explain things more clearly to people, and many of the thorny issues that he adequately responded to. And I think that so far the feedback has been phenomenal, and we are very happy, and we hope that before the December election, we will afford the candidate another opportunity to engage the country at some of these specific events. And the fallout of the encounter have been largely positive, and all those who have spoken and those who have watched it, and even if you listen to the interactions that has come out as a result of this encounter, you would only but agree that it offered Bawumia the opportunity to clarify most of the naughty points and the policy misrepresentations and some of the lies that have been put out. And I think that generally it has been good. For former president, I'm really sometimes at a loss with the way he's communicating lately in the public.
Anthony Abeifakabo is a campaign aide of the Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia campaign. Now, away from the New Patriotic Party, let's cross over to the camp of the Movement for Change, where founder and leader Alan Kojo Tremantin is vowing to transform the economy in 18 months when given the nod to serve as president.
I'm the president. I'm of your yes, yes. And to whether the Banisum, Monimidada, when him said, Sam Casamaya, Namama Chansa, now I'm the president. Within 1.5 to 2 years, Ghana is one from the school, as a son of my Alan, my chancellor, men and reward the formula solution. I make a man. It's say, I said, when you're Scotland, did you have who got your one? You're told yet. What's my second the whole day? You're talking, and now you know, get your end from Roman said. Get your end from Roman said. Ghana is a Cassam, I say, opportunity. One baby a dollar. One baby a says, can I do? It is a Cassam, economy, anything. I don't think, and I nipa stand one button, Matadi. Salamba, the Bible says the economy.
That was Alan Kojo Tremang there. But from the Movement for Change, let's come into the studios and have a conversation in the camp of the CPP. And seated opposite me is lawyer Yao Anoche Frimpong. Lawyer, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming as well. If Alan says that if he's given the nod to rule, he will need 18 months to change the country. How many months will you use to change the fortunes of this country if you're given the nod to rule?
I believe that the very moment I start my work as the president of this republic, Ghanaians will begin to feel a fundamental change.
So there are no timelines to that?
No, that very day.
The immediate day you are sworn in.
No, that very day, you will see a change. And I believe that after talking to me, you would appreciate it.
Okay.
Yep.
But how long have you been a member of the CPP?
That's a very good question. Do you know the CPP was Kwame Nkrumah's party? In 1979, during the Third Republic, it was called the People's National Party.
Yeah.
I was in elementary school, Form 4. Today you will call it JHS 3.
Okay.
And I was 15 years. And I was the only youngest, the only 15-year-old person in Ghana who was a card-bearing member of the party.
Okay.
And the only one in the country of all parties. Because of the fact that people who were Nkrumahs in the Ashanti region identified me as that small boy who knew almost everything about Nkrumah.
Okay.
As a result, let us make a party card for him. And then in 1991, when we had the wind that the country was going to transform into a civilian one, we formed what you call our heritage in the house of Alhaji Imoru Igala. That day, the chairman was Alhaji Mohammed Fall.
Okay.
And I was a first-year student at the Ghana School of Law. And I was a founding member. The following year, the CPP, unfortunately, splintered itself into so many groups. And I was a member of the People's Heritage Party. By that time, I was in London.
Okay.
When I returned to the country in 2008, I was the party's candidate for Takwa Nsayem constituency. So I have always been a member of the Convention People's Party.
I see.
At all material times.
That's a very interesting duration. But why have you been in the background for so long? I mean, didn't you think of taking up any leadership position?
I had a leadership position in the party.
Okay.
In fact, in the last administration, I was a member of the party's Central Committee, which was the biggest decision-making organ in the party, just next to Congress. And I was the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But I'm asking that because, ever since Ghana moved away from that one-party state to a multi-party system, people would expect, or those who knew you from back then would expect that you'd be very active on the national level. Don't you agree?
That one is true, considering that even when I was at the University of Ghana, I was a very active member of both of the SRC and the National Union of Ghana students.
Okay.
But I believe that destiny, divine providence, everything coming together, I would say all things have their time. There's time for everything. In any case, if you can imagine that many years ago, somebody like Aka was our presidential candidate, who because of the Great Alliance had to join Kofuor. Look at his age and his stature. And at that time, you couldn't have imagined a person like me being in that position.
Okay.
Then we had somebody like Professor George Hagan. He taught me at the University of Ghana. So you couldn't have imagined that I would be ahead of him. Then Agude came, Dr. Paco Sindom. During his time, I was the parliamentary candidate for Takwa Nsayem.
Okay.
So you will see that I was growing.
Okay.
I was growing systematically, and this is my time.
So you wanted to go through the process before getting to the national
I've
level?
gone through the mill, and now I believe that I'm grilled. Yes.
What is your assessment of the CPP in recent times?
Well, if you say in recent times, I would say that we are on top of the world. And the reason why...
Top of the world?
Top of the world, because of where your question is coming from.
Okay.
Because in recent times means that very recent, let's say this year. And I'm saying that because You see, Ghanaians voted for the NDC, led by Mahama, and then voted him out. He's itching to come back. Ghanaians voted for the MPP, and you realize that the previous election, their percentage really dwindled, and now people are looking for an alternative. Because of that, all those who were against the CPP, giving it the tag, or CPP, they are Kokra party, CPP, they are Emma Powada, without talking about the need for a third force, are now saying that we need an alternative, and that alternative must not be Mahama. So that ipso facto propels the CPP to the summit, coupled with the fact that as I sit here, I have been championing the cause of Nkrumah. I have been telling people about what Kwame Nkrumah did and the fact that it is possible for Ghanaians to go back again. And again, the third reason why CPP becomes very popular. And as a result, in the year 2024 election, we are going to have two entities. So the choice will be so easy for people to make. It will be CPP and the rest. The Convention People's Party and the rest. You see that when we are choosing between a defined entity and then an entity that is not named, it is easy to talk about the identified one, the named one. And why I'm saying this is not a joke. I'm saying this because Rawlings ruled the country for 19 years, and he laid that foundation that private sector is the engine of growth. And because of that philosophy, all of Kwame Nkrumah's enterprises, which were actually giving jobs to Ghanaians, and then which made it such that we will not rely on foreign currency. We didn't need, you see, if you produce sugar in the country, car tires in the country, cars, whatever that you can use dollar to purchase from outside, if you are producing in your own country, would you worry, as Alan Martin was saying a short while ago, that he won't say, normal boa cost dollar, no, and he didn't give us the solution. The solution is very simple. If you cut away or you completely stop imports and you rely on exports, definitely you wouldn't need to think about the dollar. And because you are exporting, you would automatically be bringing in dollars into your economy. The private sector as the engine of growth was the philosophy or the political foundation of the PNDC, NDC, which was unfortunately followed by President Kufuor. And then I would say that MPP under Akufo-Addo has also followed the same thing. And indeed, when he told Ghanaians that there is going to be something called one district, one factory, everybody thought that this man was going to set up factories just as Kwame Nkrumah did. What they did not know was that both MPP and NDC have the same economic philosophy, and that is to the effect that private sector is a engine of growth, which has failed the country because you do not expect a private person, I wouldn't want to mention names, but we've got so many rich people in the country. There is no rich man in the country, in this country, who would be able to buy 3 airplanes capable of establishing a new Ghana Airways Corporation, able to convey passengers from Ghana to the US or Dubai or anywhere. It is always the internal ones. Also understand that even if that private person has the resources for that, you cannot compel him to go to the aviation sector. Just as the transportation, the water transport, you cannot compel them to go there. And none of them has got the money to establish a blaster line so that Ghana will be able to transport our cocoa, timber, bauxite, manganese outside. It is the state that must take the initiative, one, to set up all the massive enterprises where private sector does not have the resources to venture. And also, it is the state that must go into massive manufacturing. In fact, if you go to America and then Britain, Germany, the state has got serious enterprises manufacturing goods every now and then. If the state does that, then the private sector also comes in to support. For example, if we have the Commander Sugar Factory running, the sugar factory is there, then the private sector is a situation whereby they will be providing, let's say, transportation to cut sugar, the raw sugar, from the hinterland to the factory premises, or the processed sugar to any other place that wants the sugar to buy. But to say that a private sector person can put up a massive sugar factory for the country, the answer is no, because we don't have one on the ground.
Okay.
CPP is the only party that has got that ideology of nationalism and nationalization. And the other two parties, backed by somebody like Alan Kyerematen. Alan Kyerematen was a trade minister under Kufuor and a trade minister under Akufo-Addo. Why didn't we see any magic when he was there? Let me tell you, there was a man in this country called Colonel Frank George Benasco. He was an agric minister under General Champon, and he did so marvelously well to the extent that the Operation Feed Yourself led Ghana for the first time in its history to export goods to other African countries and even beyond. As a result, during the Third Republic, the 1979 Constitution, he formed a political party championing what he had done previously, talking about his past record. And Ghanaians voted for him. Out of the 140 constituencies, then he had 10. And it was third.
Talking about past records and political ideologies, you have touted a lot of achievements from Kwame Nkrumah. But in recent times, we have seen efforts, if I may put it that way, by the NPP to sort of discredit the efforts of Kwame Nkrumah. How does that make you feel?
You see, the accounts have a saying that what
does that mean?
It means that if you cannot carry your goods, the load you are carrying, always you have this rag that you coil in order to support you so that it doesn't itch your head. Anytime you have a problem with yourself, you begin to blame either the load or that. And then anytime you lose a football match, whenever we lose a football match, that's why we blame the coach or the referee. But when we win, you don't have any problem with your coach or the referee. You always think that the referee was so good. You see, how do you blame Kwame Nkrumah or castigate Nkrumah when, in fact, it was only the few things left by Nkrumah that the nation is surviving on? It was Nkrumah who built the Akosombo Dam. Nkrumah built the Akosombo Dam. And it is Akosombo Dam that is sustaining electricity now, the biggest provider of electricity. And if you did not know, let me tell you, Ghana is one of only 2 countries in the world, in Africa. The other one is South Africa, that their national electricity grid supports electricity to 80% or more. Only Ghana and South Africa. You can't find it in Ivory Coast. You can't find it in Nigeria. Their Kainji Dam supports only a few states. And then also, General Champon, who ruled for just 6 years, was able to build a pond dam. You haven't built any dam. And then you come and insult another person. Look at the the Akratema Motor Road that the man did for us in 1965. Since his overthrow, no government has added even 1 inch to it. So how do you come and then you castigate the person? There is one thing many Ghanaians did not know. Today I'm going to emphasize it because I've said it elsewhere. And so I'm happy you asked me this question. Before we had our independence, the country was a colonial economy. And when I say a colonial economy, what I mean by that is that it was just an extractive one. Everything here was extracted by the colonial master, if I should call him colonial master, and sent elsewhere in order to add value to same. Brought it back at a very exorbitant price for us to buy. It was Nkrumah who laid the foundation for industrialization in the country. I want to say it. Let people who would phone in challenge me. Before Kwame Nkrumah became the leader of this country, we didn't have even 1 factory. We didn't have 1 factory. So all the factories that we had, which were put into disrepair or sold were built by Kwame Nkrumah. Everything initiated by Kwame Nkrumah, and subsequently his son, General Champon. So without Nkrumah, there wouldn't have been an economy for Ghana. Second, without Kwame Nkrumah, the country would have divided into 4 by now. We had a colony made up of Western territories. Western, that is Sekondi Takoradi, the capital. Then Central, Cape Coast. And then Eastern, Accra. Transvolta, Togoland, now Volta region and Oti was not part of the colony. Okay. Ashanti was not part of it. Ashanti was a protectorate, and then the Northern Territories not part of it. So the first parties that we formed, the very first one, UGCC, the idea of independence imagined, anticipated by them, was an independence for the colony without the inclusion of Ashanti and the rest. And later on, when the UGCC froze itself up, the NLM, National Liberation Movement, that came in, wanted independence, or at least federation for Ashanti. And then the Northern People's Party, the Northerners were saying that the colonial masters didn't give them education. And so they wouldn't be part of an independence that would make them subservient to their own black people, their own brothers. So they were going away. And then Transvolta Togoland also said that we are going to join Togo. It was only Kwame Nkrumah's Convention People's Party that faced candidates everywhere in the country. And today, we have one country called Ghana. How can you insult such a person?
I see. Now, what is your affiliation to the People's Redemption Movement?
My affiliation to the People's Redemption Movement. The People's Redemption Movement, by its name, is just a movement, and an unregistered movement. You listen to me. You see, as you sit here, I know you are talking to a lawyer. You believe that. Yes, in law and in the courtroom, you cannot sue an entity that has not got a legal capacity.
Okay.
So I can sue you because you are a human being. The moment that person dies, you cannot sue him. That is the reason why when somebody is in court and he dies, we file a motion to substitute the person. If the PRM, simply called Perimo, has not been registered and for that matter endorsed by the EC, you cannot talk about it. But if I should explain why I was their leader, I would tell you to the effect that we found the Convention People's Party full of troubles, court cases. I can name about 4. And we realized that the party would not be able to field a candidate this year. Okay. So we decided, the very serious Nkrumahs among us, and those who believe that no human being will live forever. And at my age, I believe my star must shine before I go to the grave. We came together and formed the PRM as a group that would field a presidential candidate and parliamentary candidates in order to keep alive the flame of Nkrumahism. Before we could register, luckily, the leadership in the CPP was able to reorganize itself and to ensure that people will go for nomination forms. So I went for a nomination form. As I sit here, nobody sacked me from the CPP. I didn't resign from the CPP. I paid my dues. I was very smart. I paid my dues up to 2025. And that was why I was not disqualified at the vetting stage. Because the vetting had 1 or 2 lawyers on board. And the rest, somebody like Dr. Danso, please, he's not a small boy in constitutional law or anything. So as I sit here as a de facto presidential candidate, it means that I have at all material times been a CPP man. And even the PRM is going to serve as a pressure group within the party, which is going to assist us in the campaign trail.
But if you identified confusion amongst the CPP, why wasn't the urgent need to have all of these issues resolved before moving on to form another movement?
By my position as the party's chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, I was the party's lawyer.
Of CPP?
Of CPP. I was the party's lawyer. And I saw case upon case, always building up. Always building up. So if you
think it was too overwhelming?
It wasn't too overwhelming, but I believed, and at the time I thought that we would not be in a position to contest the 2024 election. And what I did ultimately is going to help the CPP. If I had stayed there, always going to court, trying to help the party, I wouldn't have been able to become that media friendly where I've utilized my time such that in Ghana, almost every radio and TV station knows me. And that's why I'm sitting right in front of you. Otherwise, this August station wouldn't have brought me here. You don't bring obscure people here. You bring people who are already celebrities. So because of the Perimo spirit, I was able to champion Nkrumahism everywhere. And at a certain point, now I am coming with all the things I have learned everywhere, and then the massive support I have gained. If you can imagine that about a few weeks ago, I went to another station. I wouldn't want to mention it here for professional reasons. And 2 weeks after the program, my little boy at KNUST sent something to me, a snapshot saying that, "Daddy, do you know that you have made a record? The thing you did 2 weeks ago on that TV station has got almost 1 million views." And it was about a talk on Nkrumah. I'm bringing this massive support to the Convention People's Party. Please, Chinua Achebe says something. He says it is only when you say Chi strongly that your Chi also says Chi for you. It is only when you say yes strongly that your Chi means your spirit, will also say yes for you. So when I'm saying the truth, I'm not praising myself. Okay. As I sit before you, when it comes to people who are trending on social media,
you're one of them.
Yawanoche from Point is not just one of them, but the top 3 in the country. The top 3 in the country. And if you consider that the youth, that forms over 70% of their electorate, are also those who are on social media, then I believe that it will be an abuse of language to say that with Anoche Frimpong on CPP ticket, we'll continue to record the zeros that we have been doing. No.
I mean, you just talked about the youth, so let's just stay on that subject before I move further. What are your plans for the youth?
Massive plans for the youth, just as Kwame Nkrumah did. Massive. You see, at the moment, the Statistical Service and then ISE, Institute of Statistical, Social and then Economic Research at the University of Ghana, they are all saying that we have about 2 million or more unemployed people in this country. Let me tell you, there was this famous British leader of the Labour Party that made a famous statement in his book, Making Our Way, that anytime you talk about unemployment, the implication is that the country has set up industries everywhere, and we do not get people to operate them. As a result, you can talk of unemployment. But where the country, and this is a very important statement I am making, so let me repeat. Neil Kinnock says that when you talk about an unemployment issue in the country, to the mind of any sensible person, you are referring to a situation whereby the country has set up so many industries and has ensured that everybody has got work to do, to the extent that there is a spillover. The industries are looking for people and we don't get the people. So you talk about unemployment. But where the country's agri sector is not developed, the industry is not developed, transport sector is not developed, all the sectors capable of employing people are closed down, completely frozen. You do not talk about unemployment, but rather it should ginger you set to bring them up so that all the youth will get jobs to do. When I became the president of Ghana, as Akufo-Addo's time, they went to China, took about $15 billion. I didn't see what happened to that money. Now they are looking for $3 billion from the IMF, and they are giving it to them by installment. All that they will use the money for is to support the balance of payment deficit. When Yao Anoche Frimpong becomes the president of Ghana, and I know people are listening to me, an amount of $15 billion, in any case, I won't go to the IMF. When I receive this amount, I will push everything into the agri sector. You go to Ejira, Nkuranza, Techiman, that enclave we are going to launch what we call a green revolution in the country to ensure that national service. You know, there was a time I saw something in the street, I almost cried. You know, somebody, as you are sitting there, having nurtured his child at the university. The child comes out, and then the national service, they put him at the police service or something like that. Then they give him a uniform. He stands in the road directing traffic. Please, have you trained that man as a policeman to be in the road? That is very dangerous. Yawanache Frimpong is going to set up the State Farms Corporation and push thousands of our young men and women into agric. We are going to plant or grow our own food. There will be no importation of food, no importation of poultry products, no importation of beef. Everything is going to be done here. And you would doubt me only where the resources for doing those things are not available. We still have our land. The land that we had in Nkrumah's time, please, not even an inch has been taken away by Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, or Togo. Okay. And the C2, the Gulf of Guinea, has not taken away an inch of our land. The land is still there. They haven't utilized it. And then factories like Kwame Nkrumah's jute factory. Is it not so sad that during the colonial era, Ghana was the world's leading producer of cocoa. And the British set up a farm in Bangladesh to produce jute in order to manufacture the cocoa sacks, because they had the cocoa farms in Ghana, and their other colony, Bangladesh, didn't have any industry, so they made the people to go into agriculture. When Nkrumah came, he put up a jute factory in Kumasi. Now the factory is staying idle, and we import jute bags using hard currency. And that is why cocoa board is always suffering. I'm going to revive the factory. I will revive whatever that Nkrumah put up. So back to your question, the youth will have work to do. Once there are industries, what are you talking about employment?
Okay, you have talked so much about agriculture, but let's look at education. For instance, the free SHS program, is that something you're going to continue, or you scrap that off?
Why do I have to scrap off free SHS? It was Nkrumah who brought free education to Ghana. So if I am his disciple, why do I scrap it off? But let me tell you, very brilliant people in the country, like Professor Vanna De Mensah, Professor Akilapa Soya, and others, and even Nana Akufo-Addo's own finance minister have said that the free SHS is not sustainable. After all, education is not the only sector of the economy. It is a very good thing for any country that wants to develop. The fault with it, which I'm going to correct so easily, is what I'm going to illustrate to you.
Okay.
My children, all my children attended a certain school at Danso. I won't mention it. But the fee I will mention was about 5,000 cedis a term. And that's where all my children went before they went to the university. The last one is in the secondary school. Now, the government fee is just around 2,000 Ghana cedis. So if parents like me can push our children to private schools, primary schools, where the fee is, let's say, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and beyond, and we can pay without qualm or question, what shows that such parents cannot pay their children's fees in SHS. So what I'm going to do is just like visiting a hotel room. There are one room, maybe 300 Ghana. In the same building, a room may be 600 Ghana. Please, if you are like me, go to the 200 or 300 Ghana. Another person, like the one who founded this company, will go to the 600 one. So what I'm trying to say is that there is going to be nothing like across-board, free-for-all, free education. But we are going to give free education to the poor, the needy, the handicapped. And so when you are filling your forms in order to enter secondary school, there is a portion remarks official by the headmaster. He is going to specify the fee that that school charges. And the moment and almost all the private schools in Accra charge higher than the government schools. Then in the villages, the private school charge lower. And so we are going to make it as a rule that where the that the child is coming from is taking a fee higher than the government fee, it means that that parent can pay school fees. When we do that, we are going to have about half of the secondary school population paying fees.
Okay, so
as a result, it is going to improve their feeding there. Now, the feeding has deteriorated. WC's breakdown, and then there's nobody to fix it because government is not able to tackle this Herculean tax. I am going to make the tax so easy that those who can afford it, it's not going to be obligatory.
So
it's compulsory.
In essence, you're going to have the policy reviewed.
The policy review so that the poor, the needy, so if you use the word poor, it's a very big insult. You say that the needy in society, that ameliorates it a bit. The needy in society will be aided by the government. And that was what Kwame Nkrumah did. This was Nkrumah's policy. When he got independent, he realized that the Northerners had not received any education. So Kwame Nkrumah created what we call the Northerners Award. So anybody who was a Northerner anywhere in the country, including Vice President Bawumia and then Mahama, they went to school free, even when their fathers were ministers. And my father was just a cocoa farmer, and I was paying fees in Kumasi High School and Secondary St. John's. Bawumia's father, who was a minister and had got plenty money, was enjoying free education at Tamale Secondary School. Today you sit there and Bawumia and Napo tell you that Nkrumah was a bad man. Nkrumah, when you said, are you not cursing yourself? When your father when you were a minister anywhere in the world, you can't be counted among the poor. And my father was a poor man, but because he was an Akan, his children paid fees in school. Your father was a minister, but because he was a Northerner, he went to school free. But that is not our topic for the day. The topic is that Nkrumah partitioned it. Cocoa farmers too had free education for their children. We called it CMB scholarship. Then the third category of scholarship was those who were brainy. It was given to them. Now mine is that almost 70 years after independence, the Northerners have catch up with the Southerners. If they can produce vice presidents and presidents, they've caught up with us. And so we are the same. So we are going to target the needy in society, whether you are coming from the north or the south, so that when you are a lawyer, you don't expect that your child will go to school free. A judge, when you are a medical doctor, when you are working at Talo, when you are working at ECG, Bank of Ghana, why should your child go to school free? When you are received, and then also, I'm concluding on that. If we are able to determine that your pay, your salary at the end of the month is about 10,000 cedis or more, that parent, why should your child go to school free? When the Kayaye woman at the Makwala market, her child is also going to school. That one, the second one, should go to school free of charge.
I see.
Yes.
Let me.
So I will give it a sensible eye. Free education will be meaningful.
And you're sure that you're going to be identifying the needy students who need the policy?
It is so easy in Ghana. You know it, that people are running away, hiding away from the schools called the Saito or government schools. And even there, the fee is just about 100 cedis or less. People are not able to pay. So it is so easy to come out with the policy that everyone who goes to Saito or the government school, you are going to have automatic free education. That is where the basis, all the needy people, all the handicapped people send their children. Then two, as I told you, where the child is coming from, the child is not coming from space. He's coming from a school, a private school in Ghana or a government school in Ghana. And Ministry of Education has the burden of just helping every assembly, the number of schools over there and the fee chargeable. It's so easy to identify. Okay. What is the ministry doing there?
Let's move away from education and talk about this very interesting topic. When you become president, will you abolish the August 4 holiday?
When I become president, will I abolish it? But you should know that there shouldn't be an August 4 holiday. So it's a surprise. There shouldn't be. Why should there be? Why should there be? Because the person who brought it has not been able to defend it. Okay. He has not been able to justify it. He appears on air, and I mean President Akufo-Addo, to tell us that it was not Nkrumah who was the founder of the country, and that
Nkrumah wasn't the only one.
The only one, and that it started somewhere generations ahead of him. And he mentions the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. It was founded in 1897 by Mensah Saba, Kisley Hayford, and others. And when they went to Britain, their sole aim and mandate, which immediately ceased when it was accomplished, was to fight the Lands Bill and prevent it from becoming an ordinance or law. And so when they succeeded, the whole thing froze up. And it was not a nationalist organization to lead the country to independence. So it died naturally. Then the National Congress of Britain West Africa was formed. The aim was that all intelligentsia from British West Africa should bring themselves together in the anticipation that one day, if we get independence, all the 4 British territories, Ghana, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, would form one federation. They themselves realized that because the countries were not contiguous to each other, Ghana is separated by Benin, Togo and Benin before you get to Nigeria. And then between here and Gambia, even Gambia is in a certain country's womb. So it got frozen up. And then the United Gold Coast Convention, which was formed in 1947, froze itself, has sealed itself completely after the abysmal performance in the 1951 election. So how do you say that these people were founders of the country?
So that holiday is needless?
It's needless.
Okay.
And no, madam, we started on the premise that, but for Kwame Nkrumah, we wouldn't have had this country called Ghana.
Okay.
If Nkrumah had not come in, the UGCC would have given us independence, all right. But it would have been independence for the colony. And I have mentioned the colony, Eastern region, Western region, and Greater Accra region, excluding Volta region, OT, and all others. Right. So if somebody gives you independence, gives you national flag, gives you a name, national name, is he not the founder of the republic?
Okay. So to answer my question, you are going to abolish that holiday?
That very day that you hear me being baptized as the president of Ghana, you will know that, and it will be January. Thank God it will be January 7th. So the subsequent August, people will go to work. If those who have to go to farm will go to farm. You understand?
I understand.
And I'll bring back the Republic Day.
Okay.
July 1.
July 1. I see. I understand you. Now, you were the member of parliament
No, I've never been a member of parliament.
Candidate
for
Taquanso.
Yeah.
And you couldn't secure that seat. How confident are you that you're going to win the December polls?
Because at that time, people were saying the CPP and Kokrafo party.
Okay. But now, do you think the party identifies with the youth?
Madam, let me tell you something. President Mahama was born in 1958. Nobody has called him an old man. Vice President Baumia was born in 1963. Nobody has called him an old man. I was born in 1964.
Okay.
So who will call me an old man? And then also at that time, that cry for a change had not come up.
Okay.
It had not, 2008. People had not seen the need to jettison the two parties.
So you think now there's a need for a third
Everybody is talking about the alternative.
Okay.
And the alternative is what I'm going to fail.
But you realize that it's just about less than 100 days to the elections. You haven't even launched your manifesto. We don't know too much about your policies. How are you going to compete with these top two
It's
political
so easy.
parties?
There is a precedent there.
Okay.
Just recently, that young guy who won the election in Senegal, Faye, he campaigned in less than 2 months. He won.
Okay.
And then Zuma, South Africa, he broke away from the ANC. 2 months, he won the election. He had 15% of the total vote cast. Even there, people were not saying they didn't need ANC again. So give the Convention People's Party, led by Yao Anoche Frimpong.
And you say you are the de facto presidential candidate.
Because within a week, you will see that I will become the presidential candidate. And then you will see a change. Look, when God wants to bring a change, he does extraordinary things. So God is not bound, as I'm telling you, by time. I'm not bound by time. I can use one man to campaign. Look, 1979, Dr. Hilal Liman became the presidential candidate of the PNP at a time when Alhaji Morugara had been disqualified. He used 3 months to campaign and he won. He became the president of the Third Republic. I am going to sweep, and they should listen to me, the entire Western region, Western North, Central region, Volta region, and share the rest of the country with them. Because I'm going to tell Bawumia that his people will vote for him. He knows his people.
You think only Northerners will vote for Bawumia?
Please, I haven't said Northerners or no.
I just
he
want
knows
clarity.
his people.
Okay.
And my people too will vote for me. I don't want to mention the category of the people I'm talking about. Those people, in Kumasi, we have a certain language. Okay. Bawumia bedi ni lane mu.
Now so do lane.
Ya wa not bedi ni lane mu. Ni lane no na make kamban. You will see
Western, North, Volta.
Western, North, Central, Volta. That's my lane.
You are sweeping all of those.
Sweeping.
Okay.
Massively. Then I split Ashanti with MPP.
Okay.
Do you know my name?
Lawyer Yao Anoche Frimpong.
And then they mentioned you meant the vice president. And what is the vice president's name?
Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Very good. So Mahamudu Bawumia. And then Yao Anoche Frimpong. Please don't let me go far.
Lawyer, we are wrapping up.
Yes, very soon he will know where he belongs.
I see.
Yes.
In the next 1 minute,
Yes.
tell the people of Ghana why they should vote for the CPP after everything is done and dusted and you're made the presidential candidate of that party.
Please, it's easy.
Okay.
We are tired of MPP and NDC. The whole nation is tired of MPP and NDC, full of unfulfilled promises. And then, let's say, my brother, the one I like so much, Mahama, telling you that there's something called 24-hour economy.
So you don't like Bawumia, you like Mahama.
Oh, I have a reason, a personal reason.
Okay.
Yes, a personal reason. Now, there can never be anything called a 24-hour economy. If you open the banks in the night, who is that customer who is coming to deposit money in the night? You understand? So it can never work. Okay. And then the judges, if they sit in the night, which litigant or lawyer will come in the night to the courtroom? So it's not true. And then saying that you pay all the fees for first year students. It's like free SHS. You know the meaning. It is just a way of getting the new voters, 18 years, 19 years, the new voters. Because that is where you get them. So tell them something that would be so sweet in their eyes. But
so Mahama is just sweet talking
just as NPP.
Okay.
Because NPP had nothing for this country and where we are wallowing in poverty.
Right.
And then another thing I will tell the whole people of Ghana is that MPP and NDC would never be able to renegotiate anything multinational in the country, like the Jubilee Field. It's not operating because Ghana is getting less than 10% of the catchment. Anachi is going to renegotiate everything based on international best practices. If I didn't say this, I would have done a big harm to myself. I'm going to pursue all corrupt people. I've got a black arrow for any person who has misused this country now and then. I'm going to pursue them. Those who have to be jailed will be jailed. Those who have to be put in any manner or form will be treated that way. MPP cannot do that to itself. NDC cannot do that because they don't have that track record.
But
anybody who is having a government, who has bought government property, please wait. When Anochi comes, you are going to lose all.
Do you have some names off head?
So easily, you don't mention them. They know themselves.
I need to mention about 3 of them.
Oh, the good thing is that when we come to power, their own drivers and wives and girlfriends and subordinates will give us the names. And as a lawyer, I've got everything at Lands Commission. Every property is registered. Accra, Kumasi, Sekondi, Takoradi. When you go to Lands Commission, look, even if you register it in the name of your grandmother, what I know is, for example, cantonments. It's a government enclave. So government is coming back to repossess it. I don't care whose office is there.
Lawyer, thank you very much.
Achimota Forest, it's for the government. I don't care whose property is there. I hope you understand
I
me.
absolutely understand you. You're still listening to StarrToday, and this has been the campaign trail. I've been sitting with the flag bearer hopeful, or the de facto flag bearer of the CPP, Lawyer Yao Anoche Frimpong. Thank you so much for coming once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're still listening to StarrToday.
StarrToday, first, fast, and credible.
It's still StarrToday. Up next is sports with my colleague Benjamin Yamwa. Bengazi, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tutuwaa, Danso. And in sports, the head coach for the Black Stars, Tutuwaa, this afternoon announced his 23-man squad for the upcoming AFCON qualifiers against Angola and Niger. Now, the squad, however, did not include Captain Andre Ayew, who is currently without a club. Now, other players who were also omitted in the squad includes Ernest Niama, Fosna Wankwa, Salih Samed, and Gideon Mensah, amongst others. Now, let's take a listen to the coach announcing his squad for the qualifier.
We have Joseph Wolcott from Crawley Town. We have Frederick Asari from Asante Kotoko. Going to the defenders, we have Alidu Seidu from Stadran. We have Tariq Lamte from Brighton and Hove Albion. We have Alexander Jiku from Fenerbahce Istanbul. We have Abdul Mumin from Rayo Vallecano. We have Mohamed Salisu from AS Monaco. We have Jerome Opoku from Başakşehir, Istanbul. We have Ebenezer Anan from OFK Belgrade. And then we have Kingsley Schindler from Samsung Sport. In the midfield, we have Mohamed Kudus from West Ham United.
Meanwhile, head of public relations and strategy at the GFA, Neil Armstrong Motagbe, has thrown his weight behind the Black Stars head coach Tutuwaa on his 23-man squad called up for the AFCON qualifiers with Angola and Niger. Coach Tutuwaa named his full squad this afternoon, leaving out, of course, Captain Andre Ayew. Let's take a listen to Neil Armstrong Motagbe.
He's our coach. Whenever it is that we've engaged with him, whether privately or publicly, he's made it very clear that his decisions are based upon consensus with his additional coaching staff. So you've got your John Paints, you've got Fatal, you've got the other assistant coaches. And together they come to collective decisions based upon what their plans are, based upon what they perceive as being the current form and status of the players that are at their disposal. Mind you, he keeps saying that there are so many players and some of the decisions are very, very close. So it's sometimes okay where you see some contentions as to why he took this guy over and above that other person. But at the end of the day, I keep saying that he has a job to do.
Now, a group calling itself the New Ghana Social Justice Forum has accused Sports Minister Mustapha Yusuf of embezzlement of funds regarding the African Games and the GBC coverage payment issues. Now, President of the New Ghana Social Justice Forum, Yahya Al-Hassan, speaking at a press conference this afternoon, called on the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, to sack the Sports Minister and has petitioned all embassies to disregard all visa protocol letters from the government until the minister is sacked.
The sports minister, we all know what happened during the Norway visa scandal. In fact, I personally met him and I warned him for his working and his dealing with Africa origin travel and tours. The sports minister advertised African origin on the sports minister's website. I warned him and I told him this man is a fraudster. Honorable Yusuf threatened me with BNI. What was the end? We all saw how Ghana was disgraced. In Norway, we are here calling on President Akufo-Addo, the authority, with immediate effect, sack the sports minister. Enough is enough.
And let's move on. That should be it for our sports. My name is Benghazi.
Benghazi, thank you so much for this sports update. That does it for StarrToday. On behalf of the entire production team led by Eko Anand Prince, Asian Benjamin Saki, Edem Kojo, and Emmanuel Donko for making this stream a possibility. Thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow, God willing, with your latest news and sports update. I am Tutuwaa, so have a good evening.